So with the serious, boring stuff out of the way, please welcome Umberto and Sariel of So You Think You Can Rule Persia.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Sariel,
Hi,
please do the honors.
of course. Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Rule Persia live webinar,
Yes, now.
a podcast where we usually rank all the kings of Persia from Diocles to Yazdegerd III. I am Sariel, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Umberto, and my pronouns are he, him. And today we won't really be telling you about, we will be telling you about a king of Persia, but it's going to delve into the land of myth. So we've already had our couple of episodes on Alexander the Great, or Alexander the
boy,
Destroyer,
the one and
as you'd
only.
like to hear him. But interestingly enough, he has this whole mythical tradition attached to him, which we're taking from the Shahnameh, which is the Persian Book of Kings, which talks about all these mythical kings and then arrives into the Sassanid period. And it's a great epic poem. And well, in it, Alexander's still in the myths of mytho-history, in the mists of mytho-history. And he is very weird. He meets dragons, talking trees, tries to become immortal. That's what today is about.
At this point, like there's a certain, knowing some of the story that are considered to be true, the line where you start to be like, maybe this is fantasy, maybe this is real. It's like kind of more blurry than I would like to admit. So
oh yeah, this is going from the blurry line and diving deep into the blur and figuring out, this is probably something that happened.
Perfect.
Well, you probably all know Alexander the Great. He's the guy who went from Macedon, conquered the Achaemenid Persian Empire, and destroyed it, because that's what he does.
He was a very good conqueror, not that good of a ruler.
No, that wasn't his strong suit. And it's also not a strong suit in mythology, because let's get started with our Shahnameh Alexander and see what he's like. How does it happen? Well, in this version, he was the half-brother of King Darius III, the Achaemenid ruler. Because,
why not?
Of course, there was a secret love child that happened. It works.
I guess be gone with his actual family, who was Philip was really cool.
Yeah, he's also a Roman emperor in the Shahnameh, but let's leave that aside. It's a different thing.
They're
in the West. They all look
the Roman
the same
Empire
to us.
is
It's
like
fine, Sariel.
Okay.
They speak Greek. It's fine. It'll work.
Do they? I
speak Greek. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. Don't question it. And yeah, in this version as well, just like in history, Alexander defeats Darius and tries to capture him alive, but in the end, Darius is stabbed. Alexander finds him dying by the roadside after being stabbed by his own men. There's a tearful reunion between the brothers, and Darius says, "Look after my family, Alexander. Oh, by the way, also marry my daughter and take my empire." And he dies.
Very credible, very
Yes.
gladiator of him.
Yeah, very much.
Appoint randomly an heir that wasn't the heir, like on the deathbed, and that is very. It's for real. It happened. Trust me.
Of course, Sariel.
He totally told me in my ear. Nobody else could hear it, but he whispered it to me. So
yes, it was a loud whisper. I was the only one who could hear it. There we go. It's like dog whistles. You can only hear them.
Don't question
if you're tuned to it.
It's real.
Okay, so at this point, Alexander decides, well, I'm king of kings now. Let's conquer the rest of the world. Let's go. So he heads all the way to India. And well, what does he do?
It's time to conquer all of India.
Yeah, most of India.
He's going to try.
He's going to try his best, and he's going to succeed here because, come on, he has the power of myths and anime on his side. So he goes to India, and he threatens an invasion against the local king of India. And, well, what happens is that the king is so scared and so terrified that he gives him a number of gifts. So Alexander gets the king's daughter, classic.
Nice. Good gift,
Standard.
A person as a gift, always top quality.
Another person, which is an all-knowing seer to advise him, which comes in handy if you're ruling. You need to listen to the seer, but it's good to have one, always fun. A doctor who can cure any disease by tasting your urine, which is a medical method, I suppose. Presumably, it works fine. Don't question it. This is modern. This is hardcore medicine, Sarah.
I have
Easy.
thoughts. Are we sure? This man.
And
It's okay.
last,
Please continue.
yes. And last, he got a cup that would never become empty, which, knowing
Well,
his habits as a Macedonian, is useful.
the doctor's gonna have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that's good. And well, then Alexander has a series of tests because he wants to inspect these gifts and make sure that they're proper to understand these. So first of all, he has the daughter brought. He doesn't have the daughter brought in. He has some messengers to go and look at the daughter and see what's happening,
Just in case she's not real or something. I don't know.
Yeah, basically. And apparently the messenger took so long to come back because he was struck with awe at how beautiful this daughter was that Alexander had to send a second messenger to ask if everything was okay.
Fun.
So
okay.
that's good. That's positive.
Sure.
And yeah, so Alex was sufficiently happy with the situation that he gifted her so many gold coins she had to swim through them like Scrooge McDuck.
Cool.
Because he had the coins, might as well go for it.
Yeah, they had just stamped them with his face, you know, like
Yeah,
brand
exactly.
new.
It's just changed. It's new. It's brand new management. Here we are. He then had a battle of wits with the all-knowing seer to understand what happens, and this battle was committed through sending each other a series of weird gifts. So Alexander sent him a goblet of fat, and then a bunch of needles. And they all had weird symbolic meanings, because Alexander sent the fat to say that his knowledge was more than skin deep. It was deeper beneath the skin.
What?
See?
What?
It's obviously Sariel. It's clear. Any wise man would know this.
Maybe it is my problem that this is just not computing.
You're just not an all-knowing seer. That's
I'm
the problem
clearly of all the gifts and all the meanings you could give to the fat, which like doesn't necessarily have to be a bad gift. Like it was very useful for
you could use it
a lot
for
of things.
lamps, I guess.
Yeah, you could make. I guess you could make soap. You could use it for, you know, nourishment even. Like, but like, what is going on?
It's weird. And well, the seer replies with a bunch of needles to tell Alexander, and he interprets this, of course, because he's our protagonist, that the wise men are like needles that can penetrate the hearts of all people and make them know things.
What on earth?
That's a thing.
It
goes on for a while.
What was going through the mind of this person? I cannot understand.
It was weird. Stuff happened. It was strange, but yeah.
The metaphor that nobody had made ever, because.
No. But this is why it's a test. It's a weird metaphor.
It's a test. If you don't get what I mean, it's your issue, actually.
Yeah, it's your
not my
fault.
issue.
Yeah. Then, well, Alexander's impressed with the seer. Then he tests the doctor. The doctor gives Alexander an ointment that allows him to eat as much as he wants without any ill effect. He'll never get hungover or fat or anything. He'll just eat whatever. He'll always be happy. No indigestion.
Fat diet
Great.
Pill.
Yeah, basically. Also, it doesn't make his hair gray, which is fun.
Cool.
So that's cool. And
I didn't know he had much time to get his hair gray because he
No,
died
not really,
relatively
but just in
young.
case.
So I
want to know. It's a beauty product. It works. And then finally, he tested the cup, the never-ending cup, and apparently it stays always full due to scientific reasons because it's magnetic. So it draws moisture from the air and fills it constantly. So that works. It's
How
fine.
does that work?
Don't worry.
This is some Marvel physics of like we're kind of
yes, it's quantum stuff.
We sprinkle a little bit of science words and hope that nobody notices that it makes no sense.
That's fun. And well, then Alexander moves on from this king and he meets Porus, the king he fought typically in India. Historically, we know this. And well, Porus had an invincible army of elephants.
Right.
So also, I love that Alexander's advisors just draw an elephant for him to say, no, these things are scary. Seriously, just be worried.
they pass him a drawing like, no, look at trunk.
No, seriously, they're creepy.
They have giant tusks and the trunk that is like a tentacle that can grab you. And they're so big.
Screwed up. Yeah. And well, how did Alexander defeat these elephants? Well, he asks 1,200 blacksmiths to build 1,000 iron horses and riders. He then
Continue.
filled these horses and riders with petrol and set them on fire and sent them running towards the elephants, where the elephants were freaked out, and Alexander managed to personally corner Porus and kill him in single combat. Because, yeah, come on.
Like, I love this image of like nightmare horses and horse riders on fire, just like coming down a hill, like just some
Very heavy
sort
metal
of
album art.
Yeah, exactly. But like, were they automatons? Were they alive but made of metal? Like,
They're
are we just going to
implied be
ignore?
automata. That's
Are we just going
that's
to
what the
ignore
vibe
that?
is.
Like, they move for some reason.
Nah, it's downhill, Sariel. It's fine. Don't worry.
It's downhill, so actually you just put some wheels on
So
it
actually,
and...
your points are invalid. The end. But yeah, so he wins this battle. Alexander's conquered India. He needs to conquer more. So he marches all the way to Mecca. He conquers Egypt. He conquers Al-Andalus. He meets a queen he has an affair with because, come on, of course, it's Alexander. He meets the Amazons, has an affair with their queen too, because, you know, sort of like Achilles.
This is
it's
probably the most unreliable part of this. Alexander wooing women? Excuse me.
No.
When?
Yeah.
Because I've not seen that.
The man had different
history.
tastes. Come on. But then he decides to travel around the world. He decides to voyage towards China and see what's happening there. He looks into the steppe. What's going on in those people? And he gets a very D&D scene because he saw, apparently, on a mountain, a golden throne surrounded by riches. And upon that throne, yes, there was a dead man with all royal dignity and a crown upon his head.
That's very much a trap, and
That's
boss
ominous.
battle that you're gonna have to, you know.
Yes, that's a lich you need to fight later on. It's bad.
We know this.
Yeah. And when he gets to the top of the mountain, he hears a disembodied voice saying, "O king, you have lived long enough in the world. You have destroyed so many thrones and raised your head up to the heavens, and you have laid low so many friends and enemies, but now the way of the world has changed."
Ominous.
Yes. And so begins a new quest for Alexander because he realizes, I have defeated every living person, but I must defeat death now.
I mean, this is very in character, so actually...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like real life Alexander would have definitely done that if there was a way. It's very Gilgamesh, but hey, let's go. So Alexander becomes worried. He thinks that, well, am I ever going to get home to Macedonia ever again? Am I just going to die here in distant lands? And so he seeks the waters of life that will get him to live forever and be forever young and hurrah.
I mean, yeah, very Alexander quest. I believe this part, actually.
Good distance quest. There we go. So he goes all the way to a little village where they claim to have these waters across a lake. And these waters would not only give you eternal life, but also wash away all your sins, which is a nice bonus.
But
call now.
You're not gonna die, so why do you care? You don't have to worry about your sins if you're not going to die and pay for them, right?
Yeah, but the gods might strike you down if you're sinful, you know. You want to keep insured. You don't want to tempt fate.
But
now
they're
that
not
you're trying
going to
become
strike
immortal.
you down if you defeat death.
Well, no, that you earned it. Heracles became a god. That counts.
I feel like Heracles' story and this is like not the same.
Yeah, it's fine. Sarah, the point of all immortality stories is that it's easy to achieve immortality and you should do it. That's how all of them end. That's how the Epic of Gilgamesh ends, saying maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah, of course.
So Alexander crosses this lake, and then he's tested in his wisdom by a couple of talking birds.
Fun.
And the birds try to test and try to give him some riddles, and he says, yeah, I get this. He figures it out. He does well enough. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, like his smarts are not like the defining feature of Alexander, but like, you know, probably the riddles were fine, right?
Yeah, he had riddles. They work. He was tested and they thought, yeah, we're talking birds and we think you're legit.
Yeah, Disney should get onto this, I guess. They do
Yeah.
talking animals often
Yes,
enough.
we have more talking creatures soon.
Oh.
But yeah, so Alexander's told to climb up to the top of the mountain to find the waters of life, and there we are. But lo and behold, on the top of the mountain, Alexander only meets the angel of death, who tells Alexander,
Who
"Give
knew?
up. You're going to die. Just deal with it. This isn't a quest you're meant to undertake. You're immortal. Accept it. We good? Good."
Did Alexander try to punch the angel of death?
No, he just felt sad.
Okay.
So he wasn't as impulsive as he has been in history. This is kind of ahistorical that he wouldn't punch the angel of death.
Yeah. Again, the part of the mythology that actually makes me go, probably not true.
Yeah, it's close there.
Talking birds, yeah, maybe. Alexander taking this judgment and being like, maybe you're right.
Yeah, no, that's
Weird.
not good. Alexander then traveled to the land of the soft-footed people. What does that mean? No clue. They have soft feet. I don't know why. Good pedicure regimen, I assume.
Sure.
And there he finds that the people are being pursued by a noxious dragon that could breathe fire. And the only way they would survive this is by gifting these dragons 5 cows a day to eat, so it would spare the poor citizens.
But how do you get 5 cows a day every day? That's ridiculous.
Yes, that's why they ask Alexander, hey, this is kind of being a stress on our economy. Can you help?
We do
Think
not
of
have
the
more
economy,
cows.
Alexander. Think of
Please.
the economy. And well, how did Alexander defeat this dragon? Did he charge at it with a spear? Did he stab it in the head? Did he do a Beowulf and just try and go through one scale that was broken? No, he did not. He took 5 cows. There were 5 cows left.
Well, good.
He absolutely filled them with poison to the brim and gifted them to the dragon.
That's way too smart.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I like Odysseus would have done this. Alexander, I don't know.
Nah.
Maybe he was like, well, it worked on my father, so you know. Oops, sorry. I mean, it
Yes.
worked on whatever the assassin did that I didn't.
A friend of mine told me it's some stuff. Don't question. So these cows were given to the dragon. The dragon ate them all. It roared in pain and basically caved its own skull in against the rocks. And Alexander filled it with arrows just for good measure because he's a Persian king now and they're meant to be able to shoot arrows. So let's go.
You got it.
So now Alexander had another vision of doom because he needs to escape death. Because he met a palace made of topaz with a throne for 2 people in it. Didn't know they made 2-person thrones? Good to know.
But maybe his boyfriend will want to join. I don't know.
Yeah, might be fun. And in there, he had a corpse in this throne with a human body, but a boar's head.
Interesting. Also, a boar's skull is like cool looking and intense.
That is pretty.
So this is some metal
aesthetically
album.
love it.
Yeah. Again, just good album cover material.
And this comes from a manuscript which is illuminated, so a lot of authors have done this, which is great.
I need to look at this up
So
later.
Look up the Shahnameh. Yes, Plumas will tell you. But anyway, once he sees this corpse, Alexander hears a voice in his head telling him, it's time to go home. Your life is shorter now, and your throne lacks a king. Ooh.
You are mortal.
Okay.
Ah.
Yes, remember that you are mortal. Remember that you are mortal. Alexander then decided to reach the end of the world. He thought, there might be something there. I don't know. I'm getting increasingly desperate. So he walked all the way to the end of the world, beyond which there is only a dark desert without any light. And there he found a double-trunked tree, with one half being female and one half being male.
Okay.
And not sure how you could tell. Let's not.
Well, some trees have like different.
They asked him, presumably.
You know, different flowers or different.
Yeah, that might be it.
I guess it depends on the kind of tree.
Aristotle probably taught him about the difference between male and female trees. His teacher was Aristotle. Let's go. Well, the male tree spoke to him at midday and said, Alexander, you will only rule 14 years, and you've already ruled 13. Maybe make a will. Is that good? Okay, bye.
Has he ruled like at all?
Not really. He's been gallivanting around the world.
He's
That's
just
fine.
been there conquering stuff.
Yeah. Well, the female trunk spoke at sunset and said, Death will reach you soon, and you should give up your greed in your last days.
Mm.
So there we are. On the way back, of course, Alexander took a detour through China because, yeah, come on.
It's there.
He had to.
We haven't visited much, so
Yeah. Also, given that it's something that he enjoys doing, he disguised himself as his own messenger and went to the Emperor of China.
Cool.
And said, I bring a message from Alexander, the conqueror of the world. First of all, submit. And the Emperor of China asked the messenger, so, random messenger who looks nothing like Alexander, how would you describe this man, Alexander? How would you describe your king? And well, the messenger Alexander says, well, in his manliness, policy, and good fortune, and wisdom, he surpasses anyone that I could imagine. He is as tall as a cypress tree. He has the strength of an elephant, and is as generous as the waters of the Nile.
And so humble, too. Trust me.
His tongue can be as cutting as a sword, but he can charm an eagle down from the clouds. And as we mentioned, he's monstrously humble because, of course, that's his deal. Once again, he is found out, like the last time he became a messenger under
Who
Darius.
Knew? You know?
As the king says, wait, are you Alexander? This sounds suspicious.
I found one of your coins. You have a very like marketable image.
Yeah, so. It's like, I have seen your image. It's Apollo-ified, but I can still see what you look like.
It's the hair.
Yeah, it's the hair. He wouldn't part with his hair for anything. And he has found out, but he swears, I'll never do this again. Okay, I'm sorry. Please don't kill me. I'm sorry I'm in your court demanding you submit without any guards. I thought this was fun. It was just a prank, bro. It was just a prank.
Yeah. No comment. Just please continue. I need to know where this goes.
And well, the king of China is sufficiently humble and says, yes, we will submit to you. Go, haha, this was fun. Good prank, bro.
Wait, what?
It happened. He's the king of kings. He deserves to rule over China as well.
So he is right there with no backup.
No.
Demanding to the king through like deception, demanding that he submit. And the king is like, you know what? Yeah. We should.
Fair enough.
What?
Yeah, he's a king of kings. He has a special magical glow that the gods have given him. It's good.
He has like, I don't know if there's something above main character like plot armor, but like
it has
to be.
He has the far. He has the divine right to rule. That counts as character plot armor. It's good. Don't worry.
What is happening?
Well, I'll quickly mention that along the way, coming back from China all the way to Babylon, he meets a man. What is this man like? Weird. He is a man with blue skin. He is covered in hair, and he has elephant ears. Can you guess what his name is, Sariel?
Oh, I don't want to misremember. My knowledge of Hinduism gods is not great.
So while he does look like Ganesh,
yeah, right.
This might be a vague memory because apparently the guy calls himself Pillow Ears. He has lovely elephant ears. Hello, my name is Pillow Ears. Good guy. Good stuff.
What? Now I'm confused. I'm like, I was here worried about like, oh, this is one of the gods of Hinduism. Like this is, I think Shiva has blue skin. Like Ganesh is an elephant god. And I'm like, maybe there's, can you not do this to me? I get so nervous that I'm going to
Pillow Ears.
Myself. We're live. I can't we can't cut this out.
It's your random friendly weird man called Pillow Ears. It's okay. The story doesn't go anywhere. Pillow Ears just introduces himself and then leaves. But I thought it was great and I needed you to know. He's just in there. I don't know. Cameo for some for a friend. I don't know.
Yeah, this was someone's original character that the
Yeah,
fanfic writer was like, yeah, we're gonna put him there.
Yeah,
Don't
it's just
worry.
putting there, it's a crossover episode. But finally, Alexander returns all the way to Babylon, and there, of course, he receives omens of doom. Doom, I tell you.
Right, because he's not immortal. He never got.
No.
Right.
Yeah, he failed. So for example, he saw that a child was born, stillborn. And it was weird because it was like a Targaryen child because it had a lion head, a human chest and shoulders, and a cow's tail and hooves.
So it was like, oh no, there was a stillborn child, which like sometimes happens and it's horrible. And only now you mentioned that it was like a weird chimera.
Yes. P.S. The thing was terrible, terrifying. Not sure what this means specifically. We're not told what the omen means. If it's like a lion-hearted person will die because because the cows you sacrificed to the dragon last time are having their revenge. It's weird. I don't know, but hey, that happened.
Okay.
So there we go.
Great.
And that same day when he received this news, our poor fellow Alexander fell ill. He received a disease that was terrible and unparalleled.
That had nothing to do with drinking way too much alcohol from that cup that would never deplete.
It was a great endless cup, but it's fine. It's everybody
unrelated
endless cups. It's fine. It's no. Also, his boyfriend doesn't appear in this, which is sad. But
yeah, I could tell. I'm like, this.
Yes, he seduces women. What's this about?
Never.
But anyway, the same day Alexander fell ill, and he decided to be carried out in front of his men, telling them, "Live humbly and follow my example." Which one is it, Alexander?
Those two do not
Which one
compute.
is it? Which one is it? Please tell us. And then finally, he breathed his last and finally died, leaving history to take over with a massive three-decade-long civil war that nobody would leave alive. But, at least in the myth version, he got to meet Pillow Ears. So who really wins here?
I like that he was just as an incompetent ruler in the myth version as he was in the non-myth version. Like,
yes.
Way wilder things happen, sure. But like when it comes to ruling.
Oh no, he doesn't do a good job.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees he's terrible at ruling. Yeah. But now we know that also in myths, he is terrible at ruling because he needs to get that immortality.
Not even in fanfic, it could be like changed.
No. And this is the version where he's not Alexander the Destroyer. There's a separate one where he's a demon. This one is surprisingly
that tracks. That tracks.
There we go. And yeah, so thank you all for listening. This is the end of the life of Alexander in the Shahnameh. So we're happy to take your questions whenever you may have some.
Yeah.
So
we have limited
the first
time.
Thing is that there seems to be some interest in a Sariel drawing of Alexander and Pillow Ears.
I was reading the chat.
Yeah.
I will try
later. Perhaps you could bless us with that after the conference.
I will try.
We can post that on our social media. Follow us at Ranking Persia on most social media. Also.
So I actually have a couple of questions to kick things off. Given that you both are podcasting in something that is not your first language, and you're dealing with text and translation, I'm wondering if you can reflect a bit on the pros and cons, the risks and benefits of primary sources in translation for the use of this kind of project.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, generally, I am lucky enough that for most of the primary sources we've had so far until the podcast, I tend to at least know some of the language, because with a lot of these sources in translation, you find things which are weirdly ambiguous. Like even just when they're saying, oh, his thing, you have no idea who it refers to unless you actually read the original text and say, oh, okay, this is the person where we are about. So it's always nice, or at least I always enjoy going to the primary source and like translating it myself if it's ambiguous and figuring out, this is what it is. There we go. And I am slightly more concerned now that I'm researching the Sassanid period, because the primary sources there are in Arabic or Persian. I know neither of those languages. I can barely read. So that is slightly more complicated there. You just try and have as wide a net of sources as possible and try and get an idea of what's going on? How does that work? And yeah, sometimes there are some, speaking of secondary languages, there are some sentences that I occasionally have in one language, but not another. And then I need to like figure out what is this in English and put it down in a script and be like, yes, there we go. But it is it is an interesting challenge, but it's fun to work around with.
So we do have a question in the chat. What drugs were the writers of this myth on, and where can we get it?
Well, they were
Any
on the
thoughts?
drugs of ages. Passing 1,000 years is this kind of drug. So presumably vampires are also seemingly unhinged, which have the fact of it's been a long time. Who knows? I've added a bit to my story. Pillow Ears was my character. I added him in. And then somebody finally writes all the stories down, and you get this thing, which is very poetically well written, I might add, but also kind of wild as a story.
Though.
Yes, the content is wild.
There is a lot of canon, folklore and in fantasy suggests that immortality does drive you around the bend.
Yeah, I mean, you're using a human brain to live multiple lifetimes. It's not designed for that. You don't want to. You want to have something else. At least have backup drives or something.
Yeah, upload your brain somewhere else.
Yeah.
While you were explaining some of the hijinks of this particular bit of fan fiction that you can just reporting on, there was some recognition that this is basically a D&D campaign.
It is very much a D&D campaign. It's so
not
good.
only
I
the
was
monsters
yeah.
are very like common in D&D, but just the strange tied together narrative that kind of brings you to weird places. What are you doing here? Why are you here? I don't know. I thought it would be fun.
I was on a quest. There we go.
So I was wondering which sort of episodes or people you've covered in the podcast so far do you think would be the best subject for a comedy film or a comedy series on television?
Ooh, that's nice. So comedy is already an interesting setup for it. I feel like generally the best comic ones are the ones who are absolutely terribly incompetent, or so absurdly evil that it works, or like a la Death of Stalin.
Because I was like, it would be fun to have Darius the Great, but I don't know if it would be a comedy.
I feel like if you lean into the dark comedy, you could do a great Darius the Great series, or Parasatis, where it's just like constantly chasing after people trying to murder them, which would be great. And yeah, if we're looking later on, I feel like a great comedy series would be Antiochus IV, with the whole somebody draws a circle around him, and that's like okay, I guess I'm sitting here now. That's my life.
He
has a fake triumph. It's great. It's the closest we've gotten to like a Caligula-like figure, which is very prone for comedy.
It's pathetic funny.
Yes,
to me, this is one of the strengths of the whole Rexipod format, which is to do solid research, but also point out the absurdities in history and how humans have been human for a really long time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Trevor, who is going to be doing his Persia session next, says Parasatis could rock a Shakespearean comedy.
That would be great. Yes, I could see that. Just like cackling maliciously in the background. Just you need to get somebody with a really good cackle to actually do this, because
also with the amount of death, like it would be perfect for a Shakespearean play. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, there's
fun
enough.
To see her as the comedy side of it instead of like a Lady Macbeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you just see like Queen of the Fairies type thing, where it's just like mischievous because it's fun, and you're just going about everything.
So who would you cast as Parasatis?
Oh goodness, who's a good?
Fantasy casting time.
Fantasy casting for Parasatis. I feel like Lena Headey would be good as following on to Cersei Lannister. That feels like a good vibe. You just go follow along, fully embrace those vibes. Or oh goodness, I can't remember her name right now, but the Livia from I Claudius. That's also perfect.
Right.
That would be a beautiful role for her.
I wonder how it would be with Olivia Colman. Because that could be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. Oh yeah, nice stuff.
All right, we've got 5 more minutes. If anybody else has questions, I see there are people there. Come on, you have things to say.
Even on the podcast in general, feel free.
I mean, I can keep asking my absurd thought experiments.
Who would do best in a three-legged race, that sort of thing.
That may be one I've asked before.
I think I
about
recognize
Rexipod
it.
hosts.
Yes, there we go.
So how did you choose this particular topic for this session?
This particular topic, it was mostly that I had to look around for contingencies, and like there are some interesting backup plans, but like far at the end of the podcast, and I didn't want to like lay them out as spoilers.
Yeah.
But also I thought it was fun just because I always wanted to look into the Alexander romance and what the hell is going on there, and I thought that this was a good occasion to go about it. And he had a weird side job going on all these different backup side quests, figuring out how to live forever, what happened, what didn't happen, what weird gifts did he get. And I thought it was fun to look through it. And the Shahnameh is always a good read, so that's fun stuff.
I feel like we need you to do a Saga Thing style miniseries on this text.
Oh, definitely, yes. I know which guest we would like to pick up, but yes, I know that Plumas, who has been our guest before, would definitely love to be there because she does readings of it and she's great.
Austin would like to know how you deal with the lack of sources for the Sassanid period.
It's surprisingly, we have more sources than expected, because the Parthian period is an absolute desert of sources where we have like the Romans occasionally making a throwaway comment and finding a coin saying, oh, I guess the king changed. So that's complicated, and we just need to deal with a lot of archaeology. The Sassanids have a nice setup in the sense that they have partly the Shahnameh and all that, but also they have some later Arabic sources which help us out, and we have a few very rare contemporary sources which are basically a king, Shapur the First, for those of you that know, who tells us all about what's going on and what he did, his achievements, and then you can compare them with the Romans, and then you get a more complete picture compared to the Romans saying, hooray, we conquered Persia, we retreated, don't ask why, but we conquered Persia, trust us.
No details.
Yes. And then in Shapur, you find, oh yeah, we killed their emperor and destroyed their army, and then we forced them to run away. It's like, oh, okay, that clears things up then.
All right, Trevor again, and I assume he has an opinion on this as well. Which failed contender for King of Persia, such as Cyrus the Younger, Bessus, the sons of Yazdegerd III, etc., would have better episodes than the rulers who actually won?
Listen, the bar is not that high.
Ooh,
some of the rulers we've had were like, how are we going to make an episode? We've been recorded for 10 minutes and the guy is dead already. So
yeah. I think the best usurpers that would have had a better chance. I feel like the sons of Yazdegerd III would make a better the descendants of Yazdegerd III in general would make a better story if we had the sources, because it's fun because they go all the way to China. Yazdegerd, he starts out as like a bit of a child king, and he's drawn along by the events. And then you have these other people begging the Chinese emperor, please give us an army, we need to reconquer Persia. That would be amazing, and I would love that if they'd managed it. That would have been such a monumental thing. But
cinematic.
Unfortunately, history did not go that way. But we can dream. We can make maybe a special episode seeing what would have happened. Another choose your own Persian adventure.
Yeah. Well, before we go, are there any upcoming episodes you'd like to tease?
We have our 50th episode coming out tomorrow, which is Vardanes the First. He is an interesting character. We'll get to find out what happens after Artabanus tries to, reform the empire against the nobles. Will the nobles settle down? Will they not? The nobles suck, guys. They suck so much.
I can't anymore with them. Between them and the Roman Empire, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yes,
yeah,
it gets worse, Sariel. Don't worry. The Romans stay around for a while. But hey.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
Thank you so much for joining us today at the conference. This has been really fun.
Thank you.
If anybody would like to keep on with the conversation, obviously there's the chat in the lobby, but otherwise, we're gonna close the doors on this one and head to the next sessions. So if you want more Persia, come join us for Trevor's presentation.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
See you all later.
Bye.
Bye.